like some type of ancient war. How do you explain this melted staircase in Egypt? Tell me this doesn't look like an ice wall that's not froze.
So this wall is symbolizing the walls of Atlantis. And the walls that you guys are calling the ice wall is actually a stone wall that was guarded by the ancient Elohim.
Look, it's got like an eye or something. What is this? This video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. None of this is factual or have been proven. What type of Operation Starfish Supreme beam is that? The reason they're showing that they're shooting a Lidar laser in Antarctica because of the invisible ships that's crossing the Antarctic wall. What is the largest research station? Not only is it the largest research base, but also the largest community in Antarctica, McMurdo Station. Why do they have so many research stations in Antarctica? Hold on. Why would these glaciers be red? Is my first question.
Get ready to get the shock of your life.
Each circle is divided by one or several different domes, depending on what encompasses that circle. This dome is a kind of membrane that divides the system. Custodians wanted to do a reset right away, but they couldn't because their pyramids were not working. They were destroyed. That affected their power of manipulation on the environment.
You better lock in and buckle up, bucko! Because you're in for another creepy and scary TikTok reaction video. It's your boy Jet Ski Tuck. These crazy and wild theories might just change your entire reality. For entertainment purposes only. None of this has been fact checked. It's all fictional. Remember, keep your head on a straight swivel because these creepy and scary videos might just have you up all night. Let's dive in.
Do you believe they're hiding more land from us? Well, I do. And I'm not even talking outside of the ice walls. The ice walls that surround our level flat realm and contain all the water of the oceans. No, I'm talking places like the North Pole where they just show desolate water. And maybe even places near Australia. Because when you look at old maps, like this Mercator map from 1569, you see places like this, and when blown up, look like this. And this North Pole where they show that desolate water is no longer on the maps. Now, did this disappear, or are they just hiding what our compasses are drawn to in the center of our flat realm? Because not only do they have treaties like the North Pole Treaty that prevents any independent travel to this area, but they also spent millions of dollars and thousands of hours of manpower creating what they call the dew line that is supposedly supposed to detect if anyone is coming across to the United States. But in my opinion, it's to detect if anyone's going towards that center.
Above the Arctic Circle comes the first film report of a 3,000-mile radar warning network across the top of the world. The distant early warning line, the dew line. In camps like this, from Baffin Bay across the continent to the Bering Sea, 5,000 men are working. With steam-assisted pile drivers, they are forging an electronic chain to give North America 6 hours of warning of enemy attack.
And that creation of that dew line just coincidentally happened to come a few years after Admiral Richard Byrd took a flight to the North Pole and didn't report seeing ice and snow, but land areas consisting of mountains, forest, green vegetation, lakes and rivers, and even an animal resembling a mammoth. So not only do I think they're hiding things in the north, but I think they're hiding things in the south. Because Lord knows, these controllers of the world, they like to put things in plain sight in movies. And when you look at current maps or globes, and they look like this, but they show us this. And when you look at the logo for the United Nations, that just happens to be a flat Earth map in Australia, looks a bit longer than in the normal maps. And when you look at the Hammond map, that just happens to be the map that all the pilots use and happens to be an exact match for the flat Earth map, and again, Australia looks longer than they show us, you have to ask yourself, would they hide land from us? Would they hide it so we don't know the exact nature of this realm we live in? Would they hide it so they can have their own private islands, not governed by any officials? I know what I
Not just a private island, but I would say a private continent, damn near.
think, but I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. And as always, this video was only opinion. I wasn't serious. It's satire and just entertainment.
So this wall is symbolizing the walls of Atlantis. And the walls that you guys are calling the ice wall is actually a stone wall that was guarded by the ancient Elohim. And when the Zeta Grays came in to invade Atlantis, we were actually at the wall fighting. And so, of course, we started to lose this war. And this is when the Elohim had decreed to freeze the ice wall to destroy all of these creatures that the Zeta Grays were creating to wage war against our people. This is around the same time that the moon had came into position, the Zeta Grays warship, to engage in wars and conflicts with all the Elohim throughout the earth, creating clones and hybridized races to take over the people and establish chiefs and kingdoms all across the land. So these creatures that the Zeta Grays created were designed to attack the walls of Atlantis. And this is why we had froze it all and also put the electromagnetic dome over the earth to trap their warship here, which is the moon. These Zeta Grays were actually at war with each other and actually destroyed their whole district. And they had to flee and find another place that they could actually call home. And so when they found Atlantis, they seen that it was fruitful, and they seen that it had a lot of technology already there, and a lot of kingdoms and a lot of stuff, established things that were already built already. So they just thought that they could just come and just invade and take it using advanced technology and creating these hybridized species. And so that's what they did. That's why you see pyramids in the Antarctica, because this used to be unfrozen at one point in time.
That definitely has a little bit of correlation to the story we listened to yesterday. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it, because this is part 2, a continuance of that video, because we gotta fill in some gaps here. But this war they're having, what show is this? I gotta see this. What movie? Because look, they're literally fighting them off. And he said it was a normal wall and then they froze it over. This is giving me like Great Wall of Tartaria vibes, but they made an even bigger wall. This isn't the first wall they ever made. Oh my God. What are these creatures? It says Sophia, Mother Earth, Gaia is blowing smoke rings to rejoice our victory of the light. There's a party going on under Mount Etna. The last of the alpha draconian reptiles on the earth were taken out by white hat super soldiers there. What in the world is going on? This video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. None of this is factual or have been proven. With that being said,
I'm going to show you a leaked photo beyond the ice wall, as well as who exactly sent it. And this place exists alongside one of the actual areas on the ice wall where there's land, but we're not sure which gate or area in Antarctica this actually is. Now, this isn't a new photo. I'm going to show that one to you next, but this is the one that came out about a year ago, and a lot of people actually think that this one is real. It shows vegetation, an ice wall, and an advanced egg-like type city going on back there. Now, here's the new photo of what is supposedly beyond the ice wall, which shows vegetation next to ice, which is what Admiral Byrd talked about when he flew over Antarctica. And a lot of people are thinking that this is actually up close to that egg-like type city. And now let me tell you who actually leaked this photo. The person who leaked it on their Telegram was Valiant Thor, who, if you've never heard of him, he's from Venus, supposedly, and he came to Earth in the 1950s. I also did a reverse image search to see if this was from Greenland or something, but I couldn't find anything, and that's because this is unlike anything we've ever seen before, where there's ice right next to healthy green vegetation. It'd have to be super cold for the ice to stay in a formation just like that. And I also don't think this is AI generated because there's no abnormalities in the grass or anything.
That leaked image, the first one he showed, let me go to it. This one, this looks familiar. Like they took this out of Star Wars or something. I'm not sure about this one. It's interesting though, and they look like they both might be similar, but I can't say for sure if this is real. Normally I would say, man, this isn't edited, but this one, it's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. Let me know your thoughts below.
Ever since 2024 began, people have been seeing Earth's second sun more often and have been wondering if it's real or not. And I'm here to tell you that it actually is. And we actually have 3 of them, but the third one is so far away that we can't even see it. We can only see the second one right now because it's just barely in view. So we have our sun that exists in Middle Earth in our area where we live. Then there's the second ring that has another sun that revolves inside of this red line. That's what the red line is for. It's to show the path that the sun takes. And then there's the third ring, which has the third sun that we're not really able to see ever. And this goes all the way around on this donut-shaped map. And if you remember that the movies show us the truth in plain sight, in Star Wars, Luke looks at the twin suns, and one of them is brighter than the other, and one is more reddish-shaped, just like the one we saw in the video. There are many videos flying around of these twin suns, and in my opinion, it would be really hard to CGI. Ever since 2024 began, people have been...
That is fascinating. And it lines up with the story that was told. One sun, there was 2 suns in the sky from the story that we were watching yesterday by, I forgot her name, but we'll put it in the future because we're going to finish where we left off yesterday. But the stories do match up about one sun being brighter than the others. So that's just a correlation to those 2 stories.
Dude, what is this right here? This is a ice wall monster? I don't know. Check it out. I mean, it could be Godzilla for all we know.
Or a Leviathan.
Like a frozen megalodon.
What in the world was that? Was it just an iceberg breaking off and falling? But how could it launch in the air like that is my question.
Apparently there was something massive that left Antarctica during the solar eclipse. It was caught on the radar and it's moving up towards the Atlantic, and it's also kind of getting like bigger as it's moving up. Some people are saying that they think it might be like an underwater iceberg that broke off and is now moving, but they're saying they've never seen something like this before. It was really weird that it happened during the eclipse, and there are a lot of conspiracy theories and rumors about Antarctica. Watch the whole thing yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments. I need to hear what you guys think.
Trying to document this very weird anomaly taking place on Ventu sky. I don't know what this blob is here, but it's coming from what looks like Antarctica. If we backtrack a little bit, you're gonna see it disappear and reappear on the screen. So we move into Monday the 8th, which was obviously 3 days ago. Watch as we move into Tuesday. This mass pops up with waves of 83.7 feet in height. What in God's name is this thing moving out of Antarctica, as you can see, and then it moves up the coast of Africa into the Atlantic Ocean. Watch this as we move into Wednesday the 10th, Thursday the 11th, which is today. This is going on right now. I don't know if these waves are actually hitting the coast or if this is some sort of glitch in the system, but I've never seen anything like this. This giant blob is showing 83.7 foot waves. This does not seem to be any sort of storm system. Let me zoom back out here. Let's move forward and see where this thing is projected to go. Watch this. Here's Friday the 12th tomorrow, moving more up the African coast. Here is Saturday the 13th. We can see it start to wrap around the northern western coast of Africa up into the Atlantic. Here is Sunday the 14th. Monday the 15th, we are in the Atlantic Ocean with waves of 62.1, 63 feet. This is just incredible. Here is Tuesday the 16th, and look, the entire thing is now in the Atlantic Ocean with averages of about 40 feet. There's 44, 33, 34.3. This is just very weird. What are we looking at here? Here's Wednesday the 17th, the last available data for this. And now we see the entire Atlantic Ocean, which, as we've discussed, is already months ahead of time as far as temperatures. And we're looking at this very odd anomaly coming out of Antarctica. Now watch, I'm going to backtrack. I'll show you where this thing begins. We'll go all the way back to Monday the 8th. This is where the anomaly begins, and sometimes it glitches out. It's very weird. Here's Tuesday the 9th, and there it is. Pops right up. It's almost like this thing shot out of Antarctica and up towards the African coast. And as we backtrack in hours, we go to 5 a.m., 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 2 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m., and that's where it pops up between 5 and 8 p.m. This thing does not exist, and then it does exist on Tuesday the 9th at 8 p.m. After that, it just slowly moves up into the African coast. Here is the 10th once again, Thursday the 11th, Friday the 12th, Saturday the 13th.
What is that thing? It is absolutely massive. It's kind of giving me those Antarctic ship vibes from the ancestor lands.
Sunday the 14th, Monday the 15th, and then Tuesday and Wednesday this thing bleeds all the way into the Atlantic Ocean. My friends, what are we looking at here?
Book was based on stories told by a woman named Helen Morris. She was the daughter of famous navigator William Morris. She also claims to have been born in the land beyond the ice walls. This book mentions the Great Dome contains 178 worlds, including Earth, in their own smaller domes. The most common way to pass through these domes is through water, where there are often open passages that connect the inner outer worlds. Almost like to membranes in a cell, functioning as a barrier that can allow at a certain time a passage.
Mira eso, hay algo ahí. Mira algo ahí. Míralo. Yo no sé qué carajo es eso, dale para atrás. Si no quieres saber, dale.
In my next video, the second way to cross the domes.
Many of you will be familiar with this man, William Morris. And if you don't recognise his face, you'll definitely recognise his famous designs. However, not many of you might be familiar with his daughter. This is May Morris. She was born in 1862. And she grew up immersed in the vibrant world of the arts and crafts movement. As previously mentioned, her father was William Morris, who at the time of her birth was just setting up his famous company Morris & Co., and her mother Jane was a skilled embroiderer, meaning that artistic influence was ever present in May's upbringing. In 1878, she began her education at the National Art Training School, and this later became known as the Royal College of Art. And at just age 23, she joined the family firm and became head of embroidery. And she also created the famous honeysuckle print, which is often mistakenly attributed to her father. Her work was showcased in the Arts and Crafts exhibition in 1888, And in the 1891 census, she described herself as an artist, designer, and embroiderer, and she put a large X next to employer. And following her father's death in 1896, May left the family firm, but instead she established her own embroidery workshop in London. She also began teaching art in Hammersmith and Birmingham, and in 1893 she published Decorative Needlework, which is still referenced today. And her artistic work was exhibited in London in 1905 and New York in 1910. And she was continuously developing her skills and experimented with spinning, weaving, and tapestry making. And she was also a staunch advocate for egalitarian causes. She was active in the women's movement, but more from a socialist angle rather than a suffrage angle, although the two tended to overlap. And in 1907, she played a crucial role in the foundation of the Women's Guild of Arts. And this supported women in the arts and crafts movement who were commonly excluded. May also dedicated her life to preserving her father's legacy and published his collected works. However, despite these significant contributions, May's life and talent is often overshadowed by that of her famous fathers. May passed away in 1938, leaving behind her a legacy of social and artistic achievements.
It sounded like she released his entire work. You know, I wonder, as far back down as the lineage we can go, who's still alive that someone could possibly interview. That would be fascinating. And I was hoping to hear something about, I was born on the other side, it came back. You know, I forgot what it was called, the ancient lands. You know, we're going to dive back into that story later because we got to finish that out. I'm going to go as far as I can later on this video, but we got some more pieces we got to connect. What is that? Look, it's got like an eye or something. What is this? Guys, one more time. What is that? It looked like a creature. I'm sorry. A couple little iceberg rocks falling off is not going to make something like that pop off. Look at that. What in the world is protruding out of those cold waters? That's got to be some type of creature, man, or some type of spaceship. It's either some unknown tech from beyond the ice wall or some type of giant creature. They definitely keeping us inside. Unbelievable. What is trying to keep us inside the wall? What was that? Drop in the comments below what you think that is. Sea monster? Some type of underwater ship that they're talking about? You need something that can go in the air and something that can go underwater. So I'm starting to think these airships was a lot more versatile and capable of doing stuff than I even could imagine. You know? Imagine an airship going underwater as well? That is crazy. Let me know your thoughts below on that.
Discovered by his son after his death, Admiral Byrd tells an extraordinary story.
Admiral Byrd heard there was an entrance to the center of the Earth through the South Pole. And he took planes into the South, under the South Pole. And when he did that, he discovered that as he flew over the pole, suddenly he's looking at things that shouldn't be there. I mean, it was temperate. His squadron flew under the Earth, into the Earth.
It turns into this lush and green area, and he can't even believe his eyes. But that's just the beginning of his extraordinary story. He tells how all of a sudden he starts to see a shimmering rainbow city that's made of crystal. His airplane is taken control of when he suddenly sees these flying disc-shaped objects around them that lead him to the ground, whereupon he's escorted into a cavernous type of an area where he meets a being he refers to as the Master in his diary.
All right, this says China's artificial sun.
Seven, 6, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, 10, 9, 8, 7,
There's no way this could be fake. As you can see, it launched off some platform and the water ripples aren't speeded up. So y'all tell me. This is an Antarctic military base. I believe hearing stories of this. You got to think, what are they really conducting on this base? What are they doing? And it looks like it's right on a pyramid. Like this structure right here to the right, pyramid. They could be digging off into there and this could go down into the ground if you ask me. Look at the reflection. Watch the reflection. A pure pyramid. You see it. Something fishy is going on with that base. McMurdo. Let's dive into that. What type of Operation Starfish Supreme beam is that? A Lidar laser? We gotta type that in.
Scared me. You definitely scared me. Look it out. Look.
Look at the technology that says a Lidar from plane. It's like they're surveying. A Lidar laser. Drop in the comments if you know more about this Lidar laser.
Lidar is a remote sensing technology that uses laser light to measure distances and create detailed three-dimensional maps or models of objects and environments. To create these maps and models, Lidar systems often employ scanning mechanisms that allow their laser pulses to be emitted in different directions, covering a wider area or capturing multiple angles. Sensors measure the time it takes for the laser pulses to return and how they reflect off of objects or surfaces. By combining the measurements from different laser pulses, a point cloud, a collection of millions of individual points in 3D space, each representing a location with XYZ coordinates and additional attributes such as intensity or color, is generated. The laser pulses emitted by Lidar systems can be narrowly focused, allowing them to penetrate small openings and generate detailed point clouds of the underlying terrain. Because it uses a shorter wavelength, Lidar can generate accurate elevation models of the terrain even under dense forest canopies. Radar, on the other hand, uses longer radio waves that tend to scatter or reflect off the leaves and branches of trees, so that's why radar can't see into the Amazon. If you've seen Graham Hancock on Joe Rogan's podcast, then you're aware that Lidar systems have uncovered a plethora of ancient sites throughout the Amazon, challenging the prevailing assumption that the Amazon rainforest was sparsely populated before European colonization. Even though this is the coolest thing that Lidar does, it's an extremely versatile tool in even more fields. For example, Lidar plays a crucial role in enabling autonomous vehicles to navigate and perceive their surroundings. Lidar data has also been used in urban planning projects to assess the impact of new infrastructure. Let me know what I left out, and let me know what your favorite color is, because it's the wrong one.
How you gonna tell me my favorite color is wrong? This Lidar laser. Use it for, you see those Teslas self-driving? They shooting this Lidar laser so it can see. You know why they shooting a Lidar laser in the Antarctica? It just hit me. The reason they're showing that they're shooting a Lidar laser in Antarctica because of the invisible ships that's crossing the Antarctic wall. They're trying to spot it. Why else would they have a Lidar base down in the Antarctic Treaty? Why else would they have an Antarctic base that specializes in Lidar lasers? The reason they're doing that is so they can spot cloaked ships, cloaked airships. You're just showing how you can do it in the Amazon rainforest, and you can see the hole below the trees and all that. They looking for those cloaked ships for entertainment purposes only. People from the ancient lands is trying to get us. You know, they might have, you know, people that's low key around here, you know, for entertainment purposes only.
As the plane reaches its target area, an advanced scanning technology called Lidar is used to fire laser pulses through the trees at the ground below. When the resulting data is later compiled into a three-dimensional rendering of the area, the scientists are stunned by what they see.
Once LiDAR got involved, we saw roads leading out into other city centers. We saw thousands upon thousands of houses. Collectively, all the areas that they covered were over 60,000 new buildings that we didn't see before.
Look at these murals found in these structures. We know what kind of people they were. We know the truth now.
Drop in the comments your thoughts on that.
Have you ever heard of Lidar? It's a remote sensing technique that uses lasers to see the world in 3D. Pulses of laser light are shot out, and then a sensitive detector can tell how long it takes for that light to hit a spot on the object and scatter or reflect back to the detector. Radar and sonar essentially do the same thing with radio or sound waves. Lidar is used in everything from helping self-driving cars navigate, to creating maps of areas below drones or aircraft, to augmented reality and consumer electronics, letting you see what's really there as well as additional virtual stuff put on the image. One type of LiDAR that's well suited for those augmented reality applications is called flash LiDAR, while instead of scanning a bunch of laser pulses all across an object, a big flash, a single pulse, is sent across a wider area. Flash LiDAR systems can be made really small and incorporated into electronics like tablets and smartphones. They're made out of lasers, lenses that collimate the light, and diffractive elements, which have tiny patterns on them that can manipulate light in different ways. The lasers usually use wavelengths that are invisible to our eyes. An imaging system is also used to collect the light coming back into the device. All of the glass and plastic pieces needed to do this are usually modeled in optical design software, like Optic Studio by ANSYS.
Look, I just typed it in. What is the largest research station? Not only is it the largest research base, but also the largest community in Antarctica. McMurdo Station is a year-round facility on the Hut Point Peninsula of Ross Island that houses as many 1,200 personnel during austral summer with 150 winters. Research stations in Antarctica. Look at how many research stations they have. The purpose of the Antarctic Research Station is a collection of scientific information, Antarctica's comparably pristine state plus super lactive ice sheet environment and climate, long geological isolation and polar position, other basic physical characters make it a singular study zone for a broad array of scientific disciplines. They got them all along the ice wall if we look at the correct one for entertainment purposes only. So you got to ask yourself, why do they have so many research stations in Antarctica? I guarantee you each one of those Antarctic research stations all around the world, you know, South America's, Africa's, North America's research bases, Australia's, all around. You see this? This might not be what it actually looked like. It might look like something around this wall. And you're taking all these and you're spreading it all along the wall for entertainment purposes only. None of this is factual, just theories.
This might be one of the cooler things I've seen since moving to Alaska. This is the Permafrost Tunnel Research Facility. It's located in Fox, Alaska, and although the tunnels aren't open to the public, they occasionally facilitate small tours. Here in the visitor center, we are geared up with hard hats, flashlights, and super warm puffy coats because it was about -20 degrees Fahrenheit outside and roughly -5 in the tunnels. You enter through what looks like a walk-in refrigerator door, and behind it lies hundreds of feet of tunnels carved into permafrost, which is soil that's frozen for 2 or more consecutive years. They were originally created to help engineers evaluate underground excavation techniques in permafrost, but they have since evolved into a natural laboratory for environmental and engineering studies. Within these walls, you'll see exposed ice wedges, preserved roots, grasses, and even animal bones from woolly mammoths, steppe bison, and horses. You'll also see there's lots of organic material falling from the walls, and it creates a thick blanket of fine dust on the ground. So you kick up a lot of it as you walk through, and it also kind of smells. But I was inspired by learning about how the research here is helping us understand permafrost dynamics and develop strategies for conserving Arctic environments.
Or was it a reptilian cave that been there and they found it? Let me know your thoughts below.
Antarctica, Signy Research Station. What are they researching here exactly? While you're here, have a look around. Somebody's got some explaining to do. Somebody better send some help too, it appears. Yeah, I have no idea what this is. Maybe this is where they filmed the show The Thing. Interesting patterns. There seems to be a lot of those around here if you look close. Look all around. Get ready to get the shock of your life. The creature has arrived.
It does look weird, but what is it? It's definitely bleeding out. It's definitely decomposing, whatever it is.
Google Earth.
What is it doing? Yo, what was that wall? Could that be the ice wall before it got froze over? Did y'all see that? Look at that. Tell me this doesn't look like an ice wall that's not froze.
bad for their environment. It's the reason why it's so cold and why people have a hard This 105 building station was established in the 50s, and today houses around 900 people in summer.
And it's got just about everything. Dorms, offices, a hospital, fire station, waste treatment plant, weather office, vehicle maintenance shop, and 24/7 pizza.
If you're gonna get a slice of pizza 20 minutes before dinner time, I'm at least gonna shame you about it. And it's all here to support science. Stuff like research on penguins, seals, volcanoes, climate science, weird-looking glaciers, even fish. McMurdo provides logistical support for science across Western Antarctica and stuff like research on penguins, seals, volcanoes, climate science, weird-looking glaciers.
Hold on. Why would these glaciers be red? Is my first question. This definitely looks like something decomposed, if you ask me. Let me know your thoughts about that. What's really going on with these reddish glaciers?
Even fish. McMurdo provides logistical support for science across Western Antarctica and the South Pole.
But most people in this town aren't scientists.
Oh man, this is the best place in the world to be a trash man. No flies, no rats, nothing rots. You know, it's frozen, doesn't even really stink.
They are the people who handle the trash, they're the cooks, the mechanics.
Without us, without support people, there would be no science. You need this big population of 700 to 1,000 people to support maybe 300 scientists, because you've got to get them where they need to go, you've got to get their equipment, their food, their water, and so forth.
They're essential for the science to happen, but a lot of them never even get to leave the station, which looks and feels sort of like an aging mining town. So it's hard to see on the surface what's so appealing about this place.
We know exactly what y'all got going on there.
Hundreds of thousands of years old ice.
Hello from McMurdo, Antarctica. As you see behind me, this is the McMurdo Station, McMurdo, located on the Ross Sea, and it's cold. Right now is 9:30 p.m. As you can see, the sun is very high up behind me, so this is amazing. It's a bit windy. You don't see it that much, maybe. You see my way there. But yeah, around minus 24 degrees Celsius. So we are getting acclimatized here, same with the weather. It's very important to have good clothing, layer on layer, and outdoors. Yes, so beautiful sunset in McMurdo. It's our second day here. We landed yesterday. It's 16th of October. We lost track of time. It was such a long journey to come here, and yeah, it's very, we're very happy to say that. Happy that that finally, after almost a week and a half waiting, actually, we started the journey on the 4th of October. We are finally here and we get to start our science. So, what are we doing here? First of all, we are like a few hundred people here at the station right now. Yesterday on the flight were 137 people. And of course, there are a lot of contractors here trying to support the science we do. We are just 3 groups of scientists. I'm joining one of the group. We are doing marine biochemistry. Another group, they are made of divers, they're analyzing a lot of methane seeps, and as well the disintegration of sea stars. So they are diving a lot. Will be interesting to see what they are doing. And then the third group are doing seal tagging. So they are tagging seals with instruments to find bacteria in these samples, in the ice cores, and all this beautiful weather with me.
That is interesting. All right, guys. I think it's time we continue the story that we were watching yesterday. If you guys haven't seen it, I suggest you go watch that before you continue watching this video. And basically, the story talks about how William Morris was trying to go in past the Antarctic walls, and he assembled a team. He found a passage called Summer's Passage. He went through this passage, met with a giant red ship. Turns out the giant red ship was from another landmass beyond the ice wall called the Ancestral Land. So the giant red ship took William Morris's crew to the Ancestral Lands. They went there. They got into some type of conflict. These giants came that helped them out. Yeah, it's a crazy story. These giants came and helped them out during this conflict. I really didn't understand who they had conflict with, but nevertheless, they had these giant orbs hovering above them while they were fighting. It turns out that they were trying to get the aid of giants. It was called the Anak Giants. Turns out that the inner ice wall is very dangerous, is what they were telling the people that came from the inner ice wall. They said they're shocked they even made it past because those people are extremely powerful, and they ended up getting in this ship while they were dealing with conflict that was flying so fast. The normal humans that came from the inner ice wall couldn't handle it because their bodies were weren't used to that type of travel, and then they explain to them that, you know, we live to about 300 years old, you know, and that we really don't take on responsibilities till we're around 200. So that roughly is where we ended up. All types of magical cities beyond the ice wall. They look like they were just like from the future, from the Jetsons, you know, and they just say that they're able to get this far as humans because they're not getting reset, just like how people in the inner wall were getting reset. So it was extremely interesting story, and we're about to continue that.
Alright everybody, I'm back, I'm not banned anymore, and I've got an amazing story to tell you about the first ever ice wall explorer in the late 1700s, Mr. William Morris. Now this entire story comes from written accounts that have been hidden for hundreds of years up until recently, when the author Nos Confunden wrote about his story after coming across these documents that basically just told what he had found beyond the ice wall and what he had to go through to come back and tell the story to the whole world without triggering another great reset. Now this story begins when William Morris's crew sailed all the way to Antarctica looking for the rumored Summer's Gate, which is supposedly an opening in the ice wall that only appears when it gets hot enough for the ice to melt and a boat to go through. Once they got over there, they actually did find a crack in the ice wall big enough for a boat to sail through, but they were too scared to go in. But it didn't even matter at that point because they were already too close and it sucked them through. Once they emerged the other side, they came across a vast new ocean as well as a red boat. That's all they described it as, just that it was red and that they had never seen anything like it before. The boat then blew a siren that was so loud and was hurting everyone on the crew, but I guess once they found out that William Morris and his crew were not a threat, that they let them onto their boat and they spoke to them and basically told them that William Morris and his crew escaped enslavement from the actual bad people in the world, and that these lands that were outside of the ice wall are actually the peaceful place, and that where we live is the place that there are evil leaders running everything. The captain in the red boat said that he was from the Ancestral Republic and that they have been trying to liberate the people from the Middle Earth area in the inner ice wall continents for hundreds of years, but they have not been able to because they keep causing great resets where the entire population is basically wiped out and the rest of the people are made in baby making factories and they're grown in a lab and stuff, like the Cabbage Patch Kids stuff. So after William...
Are you kidding me? This was by Christina Bruno the Moose, or Muse, forgive me, 1111, 4 ones.
9. The Origin of the Human Being and the Revealing Book of Shiki about the Other Worlds. Let's see what it's all about. The journey to the shifting islands of Thoth went without any major inconvenience. The only strange and remarkable thing was that there was no night. The day barely faded in the horizon. But the first night that Morris and his team were there, a full and clear moon appeared in the firmament. And they said they barely noticed the transition. They describe it as an eternal sunset of fire in the distance. He says that it was hard to fall asleep because of this fact that there was never night. And everyone was super excited about meeting these giants. They couldn't wait. So after this quick stop at the lands of Thoth, where there was no night, they arrive at the Anakim lands. And everybody is super excited about the giants, of course. And as soon as they descended, a man with a red long beard appeared. He was with a woman with a beautiful face and long blonde hair. The captain then introduced everyone, and there was kind of a disappointment because yes, these people were tall, but not more than 2.5 meters. Example, in America, I am 5'6.5". In Italy, I'm 1.67 meters. So someone that is 2.5 meters is, yes, he's super tall. Stupefied to step on the lands of the giants, everyone shakes hand and then they follow them. The city was not so silent, and that was more like a rural area. And the language they spoke there was absolutely undecipherable to the crew. Captain Butler also couldn't speak it, but the woman who introduced herself as Shaky, she could speak it. She seemed to be fluent in it. Now they seemed to be in the center of this village, of this remote island, this ocean that was totally unknown to them. Shiki invites them in, and their houses were like domes, all in different sizes. Nevertheless, they were all domes. And they also saw huge white towers that had domes on the top of them. And then at the top of these towers with the dome, there were giants inside that were looking around monitoring. William Morris says that his perspective, like his imagination, thinking of giants, that they were these semi-clothed barbarians. But in reality, this race was very advanced and seemed to come out of some parallel universe. Their attire was colorful and adjusted to their large bodies. Here we are at the good part. They approach the central area, and he says that there were giants, but of all different statures and heights. There were the lesser giants and the majestic giants. They were not all the same height, and this was fascinating to them, of course. Butler told us that this race of giants was so important for us to know our past, since there was in them ancestral human blood and pure giant blood from the ancient lands of Anak. And they promised that later they would tell us our history of our own race, how the ancient and pure giants joined the ancestral humans to bring forth one of the most powerful forces that ever existed. This all happened in the known lands to confront the custodians. And I'll tell you all about it in the next episode.
Custodians, man. They could be the Rothschilds or something. I have no idea. For entertainment.
The navigator crossed the ice wall. Are you ready to hear how the ancient and pure giants joined the ancestral humans to bring forth one of the most powerful forces that ever existed to fight against the custodians, known as the Great Tartary, which could have changed the course of our history forever? This is chapter 9 of the book, The Navigator Across the Ice Walls. In the previous episode, we got to the part where we found out that these ancient giants were our allies against the custodians. For all intents and purposes, this is a story in a book. And I'm not saying it's factual, but we also don't know. Our known lands used to be called the Great Tartary. And if the war had gone as we planned, it would have changed the course of our history forever. In any case, it marked a before and after, generating radical changes in our known lands. But it created changes in our surrounding worlds as well. Shiki, the beautiful giant, approached Captain Butler and William Morris while they were having this conversation. Shiki was holding a huge book, and she told Morris that this was going to help him understand our true history, our true origins, and also to understand the history of our races. As soon as Morris opened the book, he noticed several maps, and she made a special note here on our lands called the Known Lands. In this book, he found our history, everything there was to know, the races, the languages. It was very interesting to him. And here we have Morris that thought that nothing could surprise him or astonish him any more than what he had already seen. But yet, here we were again, absolutely shocked at the things that he was reading. So Shiki tells him that she recommends that he not take it all in all at once, because it's a lot. Morris tells us that there are, to their knowledge, another 178 worlds that we don't know about. Then Captain Butler adds that yes, they have this 178 other worlds, but that doesn't even count all the islands around each world and behind them. So Shiki is with Morris and Butler, and she's trying to explain everything that she can. And all of a sudden, she comes to the part where there are the Anunnaki lands. and they said that her facial expression changed. The Anunnaki are also in the flat earth, ice wall theory, and Tartarian books. But they're not extraterrestrials from outer space. They are from other lands called the Anunnaki land, outside of our known lands. And she tells them the story on how the Anunnaki have always been hostile towards the humans of the known lands. They are also bound by a treaty with the custodians. William Morris says that everything was culminating to the final moment where he would know our true origins. Where did the beginning of human life start? The past of the giants, or giant humans, was hidden forever. Their technology and bones were as sadly hidden and forgotten as the greatness of their history. And new discoveries of giants will be today and in the future simply ridiculed. Some even intermingled with beasts that never inhabited these lands, the eternal known lands, where their oceans are stained with ancestral blood, which could have changed everything. The custodians made a pact. Never the humans of the new reset could know that a force was possible to defeat his invisible colonizer. He would not even know this time that there was a force from the above that was controlling these lands. Is it possible to escape into your spiritual freedom? Morris couldn't understand how it was possible for them to condition our minds so much. For a second, he questioned if the story was real. But then again, he said, how can I question the reality of the situation when I'm in it? He was literally living with the same giant humans of the story. And the team says, how can we doubt this story when we are in the lands behind the ice walls that we didn't even know existed? Are you ready to hear how the ancient and pure giants? Are you ready to learn more about the lands beyond the ice walls? Chapter 10. The Domes, learning about the worlds behind the ice walls. From the book, The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls. William Morris and Captain Butler come out of the domes where they were staying, and they notice that the temperature was so stable that it seemed regulated. There were fruits there, of all kinds, that were never seen in our known lands. And there was vegetation in the distance that had colors that they had never seen. And they speak of how Shiki, the beautiful giant, was captivating all of the crew members. Everyone was fascinated by her. Now Shiki would tell them more information that was in her famous huge book that talked about our real true history. She talked to them already about the treaty between the Anunnaki and the custodians. What were they looking for with that treaty? Morris dared to ask. Shiki turns to Morris and says, you have to understand, William, that the custodians and Anunnaki have something in common, in which unites them in their technology also. Their technology is primarily based on armaments and military development because they are colonizers from birth. When they arrive at certain circles, they look for ways to penetrate it to look for certain benefits for themselves. They study the life found there, and if it serves them, they want to own it. And best case scenario, they would find agreements for their benefit in its development. They sometimes implant seeds in certain races. The custodians are also known for their advanced ships and for being among the few that are aware that there are 178 worlds, or circled environments around the known lands. Here Morris asks, domes, what does that mean? What does it mean that it's a domed land, that we are in domed lands? And she responds, William, each circle is divided by one or several different domes, depending on what encompasses that circle. This dome is a kind of membrane that divides the system. And this information was very advanced for William Morris and from the times he came from. And she asks him if he's ever heard of the cellular theory. These circles could roughly compare to them, to what we call a cell and its plasma membrane. Are you ready to learn more about the lands beyond the ice walls?
It sounds like they have multiple firmaments. Like each cell membrane could be a firmament for each particular world. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting here. Guys, I don't know if you're a lip reader, but I'm telling you, they literally muted this video. TikTok muted this entire video when she's going into detail about the cell membranes of the 180 different worlds outside of there and how they're unpenetrable and they like heal themselves like membranes. If you like, say if you try to break into another, like Operation Starfish or something, like say if you try to break a membrane, like attack the firmament, it heals itself like a cell membrane, and you have to have certain technology to get past these membranes. That's what I think she's covering in this video. I wish we could hear this, trust me, but that's what the comments, I read through all the comments and that's what someone's saying. It's saying there is one giant unpenetrable dome membrane. I'm assuming it can repair and self-repair like a cell if you damage it. But within that dome, there are many biomes with unique suns and moons. I'm assuming from the stories, this is what's being said. The Anunnaki books or Anunnaki books speak about them damaging their ship when trying to get in the Middle Earth, known lands, and using darker skinned humans because they had protection against the yellow sun and known lands and could work the farm and materials needed to fix their tech. Damn. They're definitely hiding something. For them to mute this? Let me know y'all thoughts below what they're saying. Somebody's got to read this book and they got to break it down for us because they literally muted this entire video. Let's see if they muted the next one.
Navigator who crossed the ice walls. The domes, the learning of the worlds beyond the ice walls. In this chapter, they explain about the giants, why there aren't any more giants anymore, and how to travel between lands beyond our ice wall. Please remember that this is a fictional book and not factual, but that many do believe in this, and so we should be respectful. The past of the giants, or giant humans, was hidden forever. Their technology and bones was also sadly hidden and forgotten, as the greatness of their history.
Guys, and there's a rare occasion that they found bones. If you saw my video a while back, the thumbnail, my guy is literally holding a finger, an index finger in his lap like this. So you got literally a index finger a little bit bigger than this. This is just as wide as I can go on my screen, but it was literally wider and bro's holding it like a lap. And check this out. I found this one right here of this giant finger. Look at this video. Check this photo out. This is literally another picture of a giant finger I found. So there's remnants all over.
And all new discoveries of giants today and in the future will be ridiculed. And it says here that some even intermingled with beasts that don't even live here. The eternal known lands. The custodians made a pact that never the humans of the new reset could know that there was a force that had the possibilities to defeat the custodians, these invisible colonizers. Captain Butler and his men that had crossed the ice walls couldn't believe that this story was real, but how could they doubt the story if they were living in it? And now Butler wanted to know about the Great Dome. What does it mean, he asked innocently. Each circle is divided by several different domes, and that depends on what encompasses that circle. The dome is a kind of membrane that divides each system. And to understand this, you would need to understand what is known as the cellular theory. We can compare this dome to a cell and its plasma membrane. And this dome membrane is a wall invisible to our eyes. And all circles or worlds have a connection between them. Meaning between the inner and outer circles, there are passageways. And in this book, it says that the custodians and Anunnaki are both in on this. These races are both adept in manipulating environments, as they have the technology to do so in any environment. The connections between inner and outer worlds are not easy to find, but there are several races that have managed to escape these enclosures. And there are also portals that connect these environments. In this book, The Navigator That Crosses the Ice Walls, they say that based on the information gathered from the custodians, there are 178 domed lands. Our Earth is just one of them. The only dome that the custodians and Anunnaki both have never been able to penetrate is the dome of the celestial lands. And in the celestial lands, it's said to contain the great secrets to penetrate the great dome, the one that's on top of everything. And of this great dome, we have very little information. Then it goes on to say that the custodians and Anunnaki have been putting all of their scientists into discovering a way to penetrate these celestial lands, without any result thus far. Later, after all of the studies, they came to the conclusions that in the celestial lands, there do not exist physical bodies. And this is why every time they try to penetrate, the people that they'd sent in would vanish, or in other descriptions, explode, literally take fire. So physical bodies do not exist, but there is a conscious energy that they call the source, or the source of life. This theory goes that this energy began to perceive the danger of custodial and Anunnaki technology and acted accordingly to safeguard its environment. Then this conscious energy split, taking the body of the 5 masters who gave life to the human being, occupying lands around your home and or homelands. They first started with Asgard to the north, a remote place bounded by mountains, which are areas very difficult to discover. Then they developed and they took lands in Lemuria, Atlantis, and the center of their lands, which they called Hyperborea, which in turn was a direct connection to the outside world, with Asgard, which is their land of origin. And they did this by means of connecting portals. The navigator who crossed the ice walls. Navigator who crossed the ice walls, 178 lands beyond our known lands. This is the book, The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls. Chapter 11, The Giant Humans and the Great Tartarians. As I've said, this book has a different history than that in our known lands. In the previous episode, I told you about the celestial lands and how they are impenetrable. And the custodians and Anunnaki both have been conducting experiments, pushing all different races of extraterrestrials and humans into the celestial lands, but without a result. Because as soon as the material body enters this territory, it evaporates or catches fire or explodes. They've tried it all with no success. William Morris finds out all of this information from Shiki, the surviving gladiator that was in combat against the custodians in the last reset. So let's briefly recap what these celestial lands are. The study of such lands came to the conclusion that within these celestial lands did not exist physical bodies, but a conscious energy that they called source and or the source of life. The theory goes that this energy began to perceive the danger of the custodial and Anunnaki, their technology, and acted accordingly to safeguard their environment. And this conscious energy split into 5 parts, taking the body of the 5 masters. And these 5 masters are the ones that gave birth to the human being. And these humans occupied the lands around our homes and homelands. First, they created Asgard to the north, a remote place bounded by mountains and very difficult to discover. Once they developed there, then they created the lands of Lemuria, Atlantis, and the center of their lands, which they called Hyperborea, which had a direct connection with the outside world of Asgard. And Asgard was the land of origins, and these places connected by portals. So Shiki continues to tell William Morris about this story. These men that were animated with the vital energy of source, they began to increase in numbers as well as technology. They first based their technology on race development and welfare, but later came to create defense weapons. But unfortunately, they never reached the custodial level. One night, the custodians were able to penetrate the known lands and found that there was abundant gold and other minerals. In their eagerness, they traveled through every point of these lands, arriving to discover the outside of the first dome. Yeah, there's not just one. And it was between a zone of high mountains, the famous lands of Asgard. And this is where they collided with the humans living there. This group of custodians was very surprised to find that these people had light weapons. When they attacked, they would immediately pulverize their enemies, and also igniting an alarm to warn the other lands that were inhabited by the other humans. Unfortunately, the energy that was sustaining these celestial lands and that animated the bodies of humans was not prepared to face the custodians. Furthermore, the custodians outnumbered the humans 1,000 to 1. This was the beginning of a long nightmare that lasted up until today. So why didn't they just...
This kind of reminds me of those Elohim wars that you saw in the beginning of this video, man. They said the custodians had them outnumbered. Man, drop in the comments what you guys think about this so far. Please drop your comments and chime in. You gotta keep your head on a swivel on this, man.
just do what they did in other lands, where they looted the minerals and the resources they needed and just went on their merry way? Why were the lands with all of these humans so important for them? Well, it was because they wanted to try with humans to penetrate the celestial lands as they had done with other races. Because humans have a soul, we have part of source energy inside within us. Navigate across the...
That source energy, man, could that be the Holy Spirit? And it took special people that can penetrate and go inside it. I don't know. I'm just thinking of what it means. You know what I'm saying?
The navigator crossed the ice walls, 178 lands beyond our known lands. Let's get into detail about the celestial lands and our source energy, our soul. The custodians noticed that the energy that resided inside of the humans always went to the celestial lands, regardless of where they met the point of death. The soul would always go and enter the celestial lands, but no material body could do that. And this is why.
How can you make this up is what I'm trying to figure out. How could someone make this up? Honestly, this is like the greatest Star Wars Marvel movie. If you made a movie about this, do you know how hard it would go? This entire video for entertainment purposes only. This is just a fictional story. It's not real. But do you know how hard it would go if they made this?
Why the custodians and the Anunnaki have been studying humans since the beginning of time that they have discovered them. They came to the conclusion that the human was the fundamental vehicle to be able to penetrate the celestial lands. And this is their obsession with humans. But their plan had a flaw because it was missing a connector, meaning they needed a power, a way to be able to control and manipulate the source energy of the soul. And it was never possible for them to learn how to manipulate the energy, the source energy within us. At first, they performed the ancient colonizations of these lands, carried out by these beings in this general way. Most of the population was taken out and extinguished, leaving only the newborn babies. Then comes the necessary education for these babies. And with this education system, in this way, the custodians would give the colonized their desired function and structure. And when they were conducting past resets, they experimented with several sacrifices of humans. And they did this together to see if they were able to manipulate this energy, but that was all in vain. They tried with several forms of rituals that didn't work, and they even tried resurrecting bodies, and a lot of other different things. Then what happened next is not clear. They say that they continued to try to control this population here in the known lands to be able to continue to try to enter the celestial lands. And others say that they continued to do so only because they feared humans and their huge potential in being able to grow and overcome them and defeat them in the future. And because we carry the source inside of us, we are very important, and that's why they won't leave us alone. because the source energy within us keeps alive all the other beings in all of the other circled environments. And this is when the giants from the outside that were only observing and never interfered decided to do so, because they figured that if the celestial lands fell, then so would all the other circled environments. To be continued. Who's ready for more The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls? Chapter 12, Giant Humans versus the Custodians in the Known Lands. And the Custodians returned triumphantly from their war. They found their colony totally revolutionized. If you'd like to catch up, there is a playlist with all of the previous episodes. This is the story of Sir William Morris, the navigator who crossed the ice walls. His vessel, he investigated the Arctic Circle, finding an unknown passage to an open sea, where other lands awaited him behind the ice wall. So let's get back to the story. Now there was a power they did not expect between giants, giant humans, and angry humans, revealing themselves for the years of slavery. So this race of giants that for a while was totally forgotten by the Custodians was able to recover their technology and backwards engineered it to suit them in their defense systems of war. Giants were fighting this war so that humanity would realize that Earth had infinite worlds. And they also were trying to awaken the energies that lie dormant within the human bodies. You see, humans were numbed down and they forgot all about their past. The ancient giants knew about the source within each human being. And in this war, the humans and giants fought together against the Custodians and the Anunnaki. A lot of these battles took place here in the known lands. It was the boom of the years of the Great Tartary and their technology based on free energy. Custodians and the Anunnaki saw their pyramids fall, and this is when they could no longer fight against the resistance. Their control was escaping them like water through their fingers. So after this huge wars, the Custodians wanted to do a reset right away, but they couldn't because their pyramids were not working. They were destroyed. That affected their power of manipulation on the environments. In chapter 12...
Damn, they said they had destroyed the pyramid so they couldn't pull off the resets. Oh no.
12, it's telling us that the pyramids have something to do with all of these controlled environments, and maybe the ice wall itself. At this point, another war starts here in the known lands, and this time humanity would fight alongside the giants against their former fierce colonizers. Battle itself could not be described, as it created so much fear in the surrounding lands that no one was able to witness it. They only saw the aftermath of bodies piling up after it had already occurred. Bodies from...
You gotta think, all these catacombs? Yo, that is crazy. Because if you look at the catacombs under Paris, all the catacombs all over, that's a lot of bodies. Where did these bodies come from?
From both sides were observed laying in the lands. Areas were once covered in vast vegetations, but now they are nothing more than sand and dead landscapes. The Custodians' armies were kind of depleted because they had previously had a war with the Anunnaki. You see, the Custodians and Anunnaki are not friends, but sometimes they become allies. So their army was weakened and could not afford to start a new war right now. The humans and giants were on the path of a great victory. Something happened in the middle of that time that changed the outcome. The Custodians go to the Anunnaki lands and they wanted to reach an agreement, which they needed their alliance to be able to defeat this new human and giant army that they were fighting. Their forces could not win alone. So in exchange for a lot of gold, the Anunnaki joined them. The Anunnaki also joined them because they were afraid of retaliation from this new power of humans and giant alliance. They thought it was their best interest to join the custodians once again, that they had just fought in a war of their own to win this one. And get this, while the custodians were planning with the Anunnaki on how to defeat the humans and the giants, they left an inferior race in command to watch over their lands. Guess who they were? The Grays, from Zeta Reticuli and the lands of Orion. This is how the Grays started observing the Earth. They were our watchers. But according to the story, the Grays did not agree with the old treaty and the manipulation received. No one ever thought the humans would join the giants and now be this force to be reckoned with. Stay tuned for the next part. Who's ready for more The Navigator Who...
And they working on something weird, that's for sure. These reptilians. This is just all overwhelming, man. All these ancient lands you see here, each having their own dome. There's one mega dome. Man, I'm starting to think some type of ancient war took place, man. Really? Like some type of ancient war. How do you explain this melted staircase in Egypt? I gotta read this book. I'm gonna download the PDF and I'm gonna start reading it. And we're gonna have to go through it together live, man. We're just gonna have to read the book. We're gonna have to go through it live, chapter by chapter. Shout out to Christino Bruno, the Muse 111, for putting us on and breaking down that book. But that was the last one. She did no more after that. I don't know what happened to him, if she's still doing them or what. But I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna get the book. I'm gonna download the PDF. And I'm gonna start reading it from my phone. I'm gonna create some type of, live event. We can do that live together. If I just have AI read it to us and we just break down what AI is saying. But man, just like an audio version of it, so we can all listen. Jump in the comments below if that's something you'll be interested in. That's something I'm highly interested in. If you got any ideas to help that out, if you guys got any comments to help support the part that got muted, it sounds like the Anunnaki and the custodians are teaming up, the humans and the giants. I'm just trying to see how they talking about this land that all souls go to. Is she trying to refer to heaven? But everywhere in the books it said it's above us, and he who walks on the firmament. Like, so they can't get past the firmament. They might be able to get past these cell walls and use stargates to jump to different realms, but I do believe that there's a heaven above us, and we were created, because all this had to be created from someone. This entire video is for entertainment purposes only. And we got to respect the people that actually believe in this, like she said. But at the same time, it's something had to create all this. All this just didn't stem from nothing, and we don't know how vast it really is. So this is highly interesting. The code word is highly interesting. If you made it this far, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And the code word is highly interesting. Yeah, man, was it Saturday? Tomorrow Sunday? Man, I be lost on these waters, man. I just know I gotta get up and jump on these waters, man. Your boy is all discombobulated, but I love it, man. We gonna definitely do what we can, cause it's your boy Jet Ski Chuck, aka Ace Leader, on these dark waters. You know, we might have to jump in the airship, go underwater some more, you know, and get to these new lands. You know what I'm saying? We might have to jump in here and go to the new lands. So I appreciate you guys. And I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace out.